you wait all year to get invited on a fantasy football show, and then the week you do, you end up scoring 13 points. So I think the less said about game week 18, the better. I'm Jack Collins, host of the Ranks FC podcast, and this is my team reveal here on Chasing Green Arrows from game week 18, heading into game week 19. Yeah, I've just got done here, haven't I? Is the phrase I would use. Basically, none of my players played. I believe that I had 5 players I had 3 players that scored anything, which is bad. And then 2 players who just didn't score by virtue of what happened in terms of their games. And then an absolute shed load who fully didn't play. Now, obviously, everyone's had tricky times of late, given the amount of cancellations. And to be perfectly honest with you, this looked even darker until Sunday afternoon, because Heung-min Son dug me out of what was proverbially a 6-point hole by basically playing on and playing well and getting me to 13 points. But it is bad. Like, you wait all year to get invited on a fantasy football show, and then the week you do, you end up scoring 13 points. So I think the less said about game week 18, the better. I didn't make any changes because I struggled with the concept of who was going to play. And then I was kind of vaguely assuming that all of it was going to get called off. And then it kind of went backwards on itself. And there was, 4 games. So it all felt a bit confusing. And I just didn't know what to make of it. To be perfectly honest, I'm kind of glad I kept the free transfers for next week, because this was so bad. Obviously, it's been a bad week for most people. There are going to be the odd player who struggles. You can see the average is so far down this week and then what it normally is. So I'm kind of okay with taking the hit here, just because we're in such uncertain circumstances that I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm quite happy with the team I've got going on in the most part, just because of the kind of balance of it. And I didn't want to ruin that for a 1 game week. I probably could have kind of taken a free hit on it. But even that would have been the day before a lot of these were cancelled. It just didn't feel like the right thing to do. I've done what I said in the source meter. I've left Michail Antonio on the bench, despite this being a relatively friendly fixture, home against Southampton, who have been a bit of a mess. Full stop. And I don't know which way that game is going, because West Ham feel a bit like they're running on fumes. So I've dropped him to the bench and I brought in Odsonne Edouard, who's playing Tottenham. Now, obviously, he scored twice against Tottenham in the reverse fixture at Selhurst Park. Tottenham were good against Liverpool. I still fancy this Palace side. I like them. I think they're a really, really decent unit. And when you're looking at them, as a whole, and you're looking at what Patrick Vieira has put together, I think that they're going to cause Tottenham a lot of problems. I actually think the fact that Liverpool wanted the ball and wanted to dominate possession kind of suits the Conte side. Now, I think Edouard and playing on the break against this Spurs side, who are going to have to try and dominate possession at home, obviously against a team, a local rival, yes, sure, but also a team lower than them in the table who they need to kind of be pushing away from. I think the Tottenham crowd are going to be expectant that Spurs kick on here and really start to take control of games. I fancy Edouard on the break. And I've done something very similar with his strike partner in Ollie Watkins, who plays Chelsea at Villa Park. And given that Chelsea's defence has been so leaky of late, that this midfield injury crisis has wrecked the kind of watertight system that Thomas Tuchel had in place, I think that Watkins is really well placed to take advantage of this. Now, there is talk that Kante and Kovacic are going to be back in for this game. I can't see them both playing off basically no minutes. But when you look at it and you take this all into account, I think that this team at the moment looks vulnerable at the back. I think a player who's in the form that Ollie Watkins is in, who seems to have the confidence of his new manager, with Villa, up on the up. The only 2 games they've lost in the Gerrard tenure is to Manchester City and Liverpool, both 1-0. They 1-0 to Liverpool, 2-1 to Manchester City. They gave them both a really good go. And I think that a kind of shaky Chelsea, who are a little bit more vulnerable than the other 2 in the top 3 and in the title race at the moment, I think Watkins is the player that could punish them. So Diogo Dalot is my wild card, right? I think that under Ralf Ragnick, and having watched quite a lot of Ragnick throughout his career, throughout his time in Germany, and understanding what he likes and what he likes to see from his certain players, he loves fullbacks who bomb on. And I think that Diogo Dalot is going to get a real lease of life at Manchester United under Ralf Ragnick. Now, this is bad news for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, obviously. And it's not to say that Dalot is a better player all round than what Aaron Wan-Bissaka is. It's different strokes for different folks. And a lot of players suit different managers and suit different systems. I think that Dalot is going to be a key part of what Rangnick wants to do going forward. Now, this is obviously going to bite me in the arse when it turns around and Wan-Bissaka starts against Newcastle. But I think in a game where United will want to be on the front foot, who will look at what Newcastle have been like recently and go, we can really, really take them apart here. We can show what this new Manchester United is all about under Ralf Rangnick. I think they're going to go full throttle here. I think they're going to go for the throat. And I think if they're doing that, Diogo Dalot is going to play. He's going to be given the freedom on that right-hand side because the way that Ralf has been playing is a 4-2-2-2 with the kind of wide forwards tucking in a little bit more, giving the freedom of the wings to those fullbacks. I can see Dalot creating, and having seen him at Milan last year, having seen what he did for the Portuguese youngsters this time, and then for which he was called up to the senior squad to replace João Cancelo, and then he went on to play in the senior Euros tournament. I've just got a funny feeling he's going to cause a few waves over the next couple of weeks, Diogo Dalot. Now, I did start the season with Trent in, and look, he's a wonderful footballer, and I love Cancelo more than anything. I've got a real Portuguese persuasion, as you can see from Dalot being in here, right? But there is that element to it. I can't. The one player I always struggle with in this team is Jack Grealish, right? And I can't really take Jack out because I've basically, modeled my life on him in terms of the hairstyle, the look, we're going the whole way, me and Jack. So I can't really turn away from him. And he's the player you downgrade in order to bring in a Cancelo, right? I just feel that there is a moment waiting to strike. And I know what will happen is I'll take Grealish out and that is the week he will explode into life, bag 2 goals and 2 assists. And I can't do it to myself. I'm struggling. So that's potentially just me being stubborn. I do appreciate, and a lot of these players in here, Livramento, Lamptey, Tierney, Dalot, they're all fullbacks. I do appreciate that kind of vibe, and I do like them going forward. I just haven't got round to the spending all my money on the defence. I'm just a bit of a top-heavy player, I'll be honest. So I think that most people are looking here at a Manchester United or a Liverpool captain. I wouldn't be surprised if, there's a big number who go back to Bruno this week against Newcastle. I think it's a relatively brave move. I think with Salah in here, it didn't need to be that for me. I'm a big fan of how this has played out. And look, I think that on the whole, and I'll come on to this, I think, in terms of when you see the pick my teams, is that what I've tried to do here is spread it, because I'm so concerned about cancellations now. And having made the transfers that I didn't make last week, I've tried to spread this around so that it's not too heavy in any particular team. And you'll see that there's not too much of doubling up that I've got in here, because I'm trying to make sure that if 4 games get cancelled, I still have enough players in this park that are actually going to fulfill a team. I've been burned, right, by my last game week. So that's been my strategy, is try and really push this around so that there are a little bit more spread in terms of the games, in terms of the teams, without necessarily losing the players that I think are really going to make a difference. Watkins is one, very much Salah, Dalot, as I said there before. And the game between Crystal Palace and Tottenham, I think, is going to be decided between Conor Gallagher and Heung-min Son. So I've put them both in just to kind of gamble on which one of them gets this right. So yeah, that's my take on this game week. So that's my team reveal here on Chasing Green Arrows. Don't forget to subscribe below. Good luck this game week.